Excited to be here with Refuge Utah, and we appreciate them hosting us this morning and in this facility, which serves such an important role and purpose. What we wanted to bring together today, we'll talk more about that and fulfilling of that purpose. But we're grateful to have Lieutenant Governor here with us, Deidre Henderson, and we'll have an opportunity to hear from her in a minute. But also the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition, Jen Campbell and her staff, some of her staff. We appreciate you being here, as well as Ashley Taylor with the Refuge Utah here. Thank you. This last year, or coming out of the session this last year, we had Senate Bill 117, which was passed, signed into law, which requires all law enforcement agencies to conduct a lethality assessment protocol. That will go into effect starting July 1st here within a couple of days. And through that process, conducting those assessments and providing that assessment information, it is going to be analyzed by our statewide information and analysis center, which is housed at the Department of Public Safety. That'll be a 24/7 analysis availability, as well as 365 days a year. Something that we've already seen great success. We've already introduced the likings of what this program is going to be and what that's going to consist of, to which we're seeing great results, and we'll have some of the team present what we're seeing with that already to you today. So I want to thank our team for their immediate action on that. We were being proactive early on in establishing this, even though it didn't go into effect until July 1st. We saw the importance of this coming from what that bill represented and what we're capable of doing at the Department of Public Safety. And so we are grateful to announce that will be fully active come July 1st and able to process those assessments. And so it's my great honor, actually, just to be associated with this along with the Lieutenant Governor. Lieutenant Governor Henderson has led the charge in this effort, and her tenacity and fearless ability just to dig into hard and critical issues has been so supportive of what we've seen, the results of this. And so thank you, Lieutenant Governor. But it's my honor to introduce her and to have her speak to us, and then we will also be able to hear from others on the team from there. So Lieutenant Governor, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. You're really tall. Just last week, we had a family reunion. This was our first family reunion, which we've had every year since I was a small child. We're actually, my little grandbabies are the 6th generation of this family reunion at Bear Lake. But this was our first family reunion that we had without my cousin, Mandy Main, who was murdered last August by her ex-husband, who waited for her in the dark, early morning hours of August 17th and ambushed her while she was at the bus stop, waiting for the bus to go to work. And he shot her multiple times and then took his own life. As my family reeled from that news and started to look into why that happened, it was pretty clear that there were warning signs. There were warning signs that week. That was a Wednesday. There were warning signs on Monday and Tuesday that week that didn't get caught. And they didn't get caught because largely law enforcement was operating in silos. There was not communication between law enforcement agencies that were responding to different incidents. And there was also not a requirement that law enforcement conduct lethality assessments when they come to situations where there is domestic violence, specifically intimate partner violence. So over the past 9 or 10 months, we're coming up on a year. In a few weeks, it'll be a year since her death. we worked really hard to assess the root of the problem, because I knew that this was not just my family's problem. This was not just Mandy Main that had her life taken. There were a lot of people who've had their lives taken because of this type of situation. A lot of families that were affected. And looking through what the gaps were in our system and how we could close those gaps was, I want to say it was a long process, but looking back, it's actually, we've done this really quickly. And I want to thank Commissioner Anderson and his leadership and his team, and Jen Campbell and her leadership and her team. There are so many people who've been working for a long, long time in this space to save lives, to make sure that victims of intimate partner violence have the resources that they need. And now we have made huge steps toward ensuring that. What we did was require lethality assessments to be conducted. A lot of law enforcement agencies were already doing this, but there was no system, no database, no way to connect all of the dots in an easy way. Law enforcement would go to a scene, and maybe that particular scene didn't look like that big of a deal. But you provide more information, you connect some dots, and maybe it is a bigger deal than it appears on the surface, and there are different decisions that law enforcement would make in those moments. That's what Senate Bill 117 has done. It's created a way for law enforcement to get more information when they perform those lethality assessments. It also provided funding so that our domestic violence service providers could actually be there, be able to provide the services that are needed in the moment. I want to thank the legislature. The legislature stepped up in a big way this past legislative session, providing $30 million of funding for domestic violence service providers, and providing funding so that SIAC can get analysts so that we can have that real-time 24/7 analysis conducted, so law enforcement can have this information that they need, and then put that information on probable cause statements, get it all, that water all the way to the end of the row, so that the criminal justice system has the information that they need to be able to make good decisions. That's what this has been about, and it's been so heartwarming for me and for my family, who experienced an incredible tragedy. And we're not alone. There are many families throughout the state who have experienced these types of tragedies, but we're hoping, and we're confident, especially with the results that we've seen so far, that we are going to have fewer and fewer families in the state of Utah who do experience this sort of tragedy. And I'm excited for Captain Jensen to be able to talk a little bit about the results that we have seen. I have to just give another shout out to our DPS for stepping up, despite the fact that this bill did not go into effect until Saturday, till July 1st. They did not wait. They stepped up. They were very excited, very supportive. I believe this is something that they have been hoping to get done for a long time. So they were already prepared to get the ball rolling and to not wait any longer than they absolutely had to start doing this. So I really appreciate them for that. And there are so many families and individuals throughout the state of Utah who are going to benefit from this. Thank you all so much. And Captain, is it you now? Or is it Jen? I don't know who it is next, but I want to... Jen.
You got it. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. We all play a role in stopping violence. In any role, in any position that we're in, whether it's something where we're personal, or it's something where we're professional. We do this through understanding what domestic violence is. We do this through understanding when someone comes forward and tells them they're experiencing it and believing them. And we do this in making sure that we connect them with the resources that they need in a way that increases their safety and lowers and reduces violence for them. Today, you're hearing about these steps happening statewide. You're hearing about the great work from our Lieutenant Governor, from our Department of Public Safety, from our law enforcement partners, and our nonprofit community providers, who have all worked to understand the dynamics of domestic violence, who've worked together to say, what can we do more? and understand what can we do when someone comes forward and ensuring that they are going to get a safe place and help and services. When we work collaboratively, we achieve the best outcomes for those experiencing violence. This requires partnership, leadership, and vision. And that is what I've seen from all of these partners over this past year. I'm so impressed by the call to action through our governor and through our lieutenant governor to ensure that we know and recognize that our state is experiencing this, that individuals are experiencing this, and that we can work collectively to ensure that we improve the outcomes for those and hopefully reduce and prevent this in the long run. I'm grateful, as mentioned, for our legislative session, for Senator Weiler, for Representative Wilcox, in helping bring to pass SB 117. That was an amazing day, and sometimes the session is very long and very hard, and I will not forget that day. It was amazing to see that come to pass. I'm very impressed by the Department of Public Safety. This has been, as was mentioned, a July 1 start date. And I will tell you, I don't even think I had recovered from the session when we had our first meetings to say, let's go. The team has stepped right in. It's been amazing. Our coalition has loved this program from the beginning. And it is with so much pride that I have been to turn that over and to work with that with the Department of Public Safety. They understand this. They want to ensure that it's effective, and they have an amazing team that's made sure that this is coming to happen. And I couldn't be more pleased in that process, so thank you. I'm grateful to our community partners, who we could not do this work without you all, who have used every resource to make this and have continued the call to action day in and day out of the work that needs to happen and have stepped right into these spaces to partner. Thank you. Thank you for what you do every day. We see you, and we know that work's important. During the last several months, we've had the opportunity to tour and meet all of our programs. Next week, we will have hit everyone. It has been amazing. We've gone from Blanding to Logan and everywhere in between. And in those meetings, we've had the opportunity to sit with our law enforcement partners and with our community partners to celebrate the successes that they've had and have been having, and also talk about the gaps that have existed in those services and how this process can help fill those and meet those needs. We've heard amazing things. We've heard organizations who have been using this for years say, please, please, please make sure this stays as strong as it is. Make sure that we're still having our partners. We see what happens in the changes for survivors when they engage with services. We've heard new organizations be concerned about the beginning of this, and we've got to be able to watch them see, as they went out on those first calls, the change and difference in resources and access for survivors. And I've been humbled by the willingness to collaborate and partner. Every time we do something new, it's scary and hard. But I think with the efficiency and effectiveness of seeing this work, our partners have risen to that and wanted to partner as quickly as possible. This is ultimately always just a tool. And I try to tell people, we have to remember it's not just the tool. What makes this work is everyone that's in this room. It is the partners coming together. It's our legislators making this a priority. It's seeing that we can change and make this better and safer for individuals. And that's really what is going to shift and change. I know, and we all know, that no one deserves to be abused. But we know that that's happening, and those instances are happening. And I'm so grateful for this change that is coming into our state, for the changes that are already happening, because it will save lives. It will change the outcomes. People see and have felt heard and know that we're trying to work to get them access to services. And I'm so grateful for this partnership and continue in that. So thank you. Thank you for the commitment. Thank you for all being here as well.
Hello, my name is Jen Famawina. I'm a sergeant with the Utah Department of Public Safety. And I can say that beginning in March of this year, our team has actually been hitting the ground running and kicking off this protocol. We've built this great partnership with UDVC as well as with other state entities, and we've been able to build a platform that is currently available for all law enforcement agencies across the state, where they'll be completing this assessment online, and then from there submitting it to our Fusions Center. And with this platform, we've actually opened it up to the entire state in May, and we've asked several agencies across the state to actually pilot this for us, and they've been able to provide some very valuable feedback for us so that we've been able to use that and help us improve as well as enhance this platform and make it streamlined for every single law enforcement officer in this state. And with that, with this bill, we've also been able to hire a handful of analysts within the Fusion Center. They started in May, and again, like was already mentioned earlier, starting July 1st, they will be offering case support 24/7 for every single agency in this state. And with that, our goal with the analysts is that when an officer submits the assessment online, once they submit it, our analysts will receive that email, and then we'll be able to provide case support within about 15 minutes of the submission, and then email that back to the officer. And that information that the officer will receive will help them in having a more holistic, approach as to what they're actually dealing with on scene. So we're going to be utilizing a bunch of law enforcement software as well as platforms that are available to us, and help them share, or help agencies across the state share that information so that we're not, so that we can help all of these survivors in these incidences, and then also help the courts in making that determination on the offender for that. And we also know with the stats that we have seen in May, when we did open it up, we've had approximately 58 agencies pilot this platform for us. And with those 58 agencies, we had 206 assessments completed in the month of May. And in May, we saw a spike, or say an increase in assessments completed around the holidays, and so we anticipate that to increase come July 1st for that with those stats. And out of those 206, I can say approximately 128 actually came back as a victim being in a potentially lethal incident. And so from there, we're actually also able to help these survivors connect to the community resources that are available to them.
Thanks, Jen. My name is Tanner Jensen. I'm the director at the Statewide Information Analysis Center, and I've been working closely with Sergeant Falmuina, Department of Public Safety, UDVC, on ensuring that the SIAC is ready to go come July 1. As Sergeant Falmuina identified, we began the program in May, the demo phase, and we've seen great success in what we've been able to analyze and collect. We're looking at, and we're anticipating approximately 8,000 of these lethality assessments to be conducted every year. That comes out to be almost about one every hour, 365 days out of the year. And so we have a team of analysts that have been hired and prepared to look at each one of these to ensure that we break down those silos of information. And they already started that in the demo phase, and we've found alarming things within our assessments that have helped law enforcement look at the lethality of these situations and understand the gravity of some of them. We found cases where an aggressor has recently attempted to purchase a firearm but was denied for a protective order. We found an aggressor was previously a homicide suspect of a previous domestic violence case. Alarming red flags that we've been able to find and share with the officers. We're excited about looking deeper into these statistics and helping law enforcement. And we're so thankful for our law enforcement community that as we've traveled the state have been extremely receptive to implementation of this new lethality assessment. And they're excited for the tools and resources it gives officers that go out to these calls every day in their shifts and deal with complex situations. Then they have to make find complex solutions to these situations within minutes. And this lethality assessment, the data that we're collecting at the Statewide Information Analysis Center, and working closely with our community-based victim advocates, is giving those officers support to where they can support the victims of these cases appropriately. And we're thankful for everybody that's implemented this bill, the legislature, Lieutenant Governor, Commissioner Anderson for continuing this forward. Thank you.
My name is Ashley Taylor, and I'm the Executive Director here at the Refuge Utah. We provide services for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault in Wasatch, Juab, and Utah counties. We provide safety and healing to those survivors free of cost, and services like emergency shelter, advocacy support, hospital response advocates, prevention education, therapy, and other housing services. We really focus on empowering survivors to be able to find safety, hope, and healing, and to be able to live free from abuse. We have engaged in the lethality assessment with many of our law enforcement partners in the past, and we've seen over these past few years how it really changes individuals' lives. And survivors that have received a lethality assessment that have come into our services have been able to live free from abuse and break away from those situations that have caused them harm in the past. We know that this new mandate will help to unify how that lethality assessment is being conducted throughout the state, and we know that that will help to be able to provide those community resources like ours to survivors no matter where they are in the state. We also know that that will increase the referrals that are coming to our services, and we know that those referrals are needed and that they can be life-saving. We're also trying to keep up with the daily demand that we see of the fast-growing population in Utah County. And we're so grateful for the funding that was allocated in this last session to be able to help to meet some of that increased demand for our services and to help make sure that when a call does come in, that we have a trained advocate on our side 24/7 that can help respond to those law enforcement partners as they're completing the lethality assessment with survivors. We also know that as much as we can, we want to provide safety, whether that's a bed in our shelter or making sure that they have a safe place to stay, and then the ongoing support so that they can receive services after the initial crisis, to make sure that they can be empowered to choose to live free from abuse and to be able to have safety and hope in their lives. We're so grateful that as a community partner that we've been involved in this mandate and included in the implementation of it. We know that lethality assessments only are possible when community partners are working with their law enforcement agencies. And we know that that is how survivors will get the resources that they need. So we are honored to be able to partner and to be a part of this work. And we know that it will change the lives of the survivors that we see daily. Thank you.
Well, thank you, all of you who have participated, and I hope that you can see the significant insight and commitment that's been put into this effort. I'd be remiss if I just didn't share early on when I was talking to the Lieutenant Governor as we were working through what this might look like. And one thing about the Cox-Henderson administration, is they like to move big rocks, and simply by challenging a process, right, of asking questions of why are we doing that? Why are we not doing that? Not to criticize or be a critic of such, but it's opportunities to improve systems. And early on, Lieutenant Governor challenged this process very much so, based upon her own experiences, and unfortunately at the sacrifice of a cousin, of Mandy. And it was when things come to you like that, it makes it very real. And not that it isn't for everybody else out there that's suffering every single day, but when you have a personal tragedy of such, it does cause us a little bit of reflection and opportunities to do better. And I can tell you that this tool implemented for the state of Utah, for law enforcement as a whole across the entire state, is a tool. It will improve victims' ability to get the help that they need and protect lives and save lives. And we're already seeing that. So thank you. Which, it probably be rightly so, just a simple Mandy's Law. We talked about that early on, but certainly something to be respectful for. We also want to thank our legislature, Representative Clancy, who's here with us today, taking time out of his schedule to be here in support of that as well. Without their assistance and their help, we couldn't have pushed this all the way through and across the finish line. And so we appreciate Representative Clancy being here today and representing the legislature. So what are the next steps? We're in the process of building out a mobile application through BCI, is where the records of this is kept. And that mobile app, which literally, as every officer carries with them a smart device, either a phone or a tablet of some kind, will have the ability to simply click on an app and fill out the lethality assessment. Right now, that's accessible through our UCGIS portal. The app will be connected to the UCGIS portal, and so by August of 2023, here within the next month, that app will be available for all officers to download as a touch point on their device. With that, we have our law enforcement trainings and other trainings throughout all of the domestic violence coalition will continue, and as agencies are trained, that will conclude here and continue to go on, as what Sergeant Falmoina and her team, as well as with Jen Campbell and her team, have been doing. And so training, June 29th, training is open to all law enforcement to discuss implementation and best practices as we continue to roll that out. And also just the continuous visits to law enforcement agencies as we work through the implementation process will be ongoing. And so those are what some of the final next steps that you can expect to see as we then give proper evaluation on the analysis side and give them proper feedback. That concludes our press conference. There will be, all those who spoke today or experts in the field are available for one-on-one interviews, any of the media that want to do that. But we appreciate all of you coming. Also, Sergeant Falmoina is able to walk you through a presentation or a demonstration exactly what this looks like if you're interested in that, to see what officers are filling out and the questions of yes, no, and unknown. So we have that available for you as well. But thank you for coming.